Valerie meticulously packed for her high school reunion, consciously avoiding anything that might raise suspicions with her husband. Intimacy with former flames wasn't on her agenda, especially now with Randall Briggs, a past lover. Her primary motive was to reconnect with dear friends spread across the country, a rare chance to reunite. Yet, a secondary secretive motivation lingered: to showcase a transformed self to Randall, dispelling the image he'd crafted of her as an easily swayed young woman. His boast about conquering her still stung, though she wasn't entirely inexperienced back then. Revenge brewed in her mind, but strictly within legal boundaries. "Simon, are you sure you can't join me? Many attendees were your friends too," she asked, seeking reassurance. "I wish I could, but there's a critical loan negotiation. I need to be here," he explained. "Are you worried about Randall and me?" She probed. "It's more about him. He had a way with girls, and that hasn't likely changed. Just do us both a favor. Stay clear," he cautioned. "If you ask me not to go, I won't. But I hope you trust me. You're my only love, and I won't betray us," she pledged. "Vol, this reunion's a chance to see your old crew. You might not even attend," Simon remarked, acknowledging the significance of the gathering. While the reunion stirred mixed emotions, she was resolute. Her loyalty lay with Simon. Simon watched her leave, pained by the thought of her reuniting with Randall, stirring up a storm of anger within him. It wasn't until after Val and he became engaged that he found himself in a bar with Randall, uninvited, celebrating with his male friends. Initially things seemed fine until Randall cornered him. "Simon, you're one lucky guy. Valerie was the best I ever had. I was her top lover, and that won't change," he sneered. "Sure, I didn't take her virginity, but I was her first in other ways." She had quite the time that night. Simon, fueled by rage, lost control and lunged at Randall, swinging his fist. However, Randall effortlessly blocked the attack, and friends quickly intervened, forcing Randall to leave. His parting shot, claiming he could have Valerie whenever he pleased, stung deeply. Simon had to be held back again, but he chose not to share this incident with Valerie. He didn't want her thoughts to dwell on Randall in any way. Despite her claims of despising him for what he did, Randall's track record with mistreated women suggested otherwise. Attractive, intelligent, a master at charm, and evidently skilled in bed, women seemed to gravitate towards him effortlessly. "I'll miss you, Val. Have a great time, and remember I love you," Simon expressed before her departure. He had wanted to caution her against anything he wouldn't do, but he refrained from upsetting her. He had to trust her. "I love you too, Simon. Get ready for my attack when I'm back," she replied, bringing reassurance amidst the worry. As soon as Valerie stepped off the plane, a sign for their 10th-year reunion caught her eye in the baggage area. Two classmates, married and owners of a local hotel, had arranged a special rate for everyone attending. Approaching the man holding the sign, who turned out to be the hotel van driver, she learned that they were waiting for others on the next flight, and she agreed, pleased to spot Beverly among those arriving. Catching up with Beverly continued until they parted ways at the hotel to head to their respective rooms. The reunion kicked off with an open bar reception in one of the hotel's conference rooms. Beverly and Valerie quickly connected with a couple of other friends who had arrived earlier. Identifying people became a game. Was this person a classmate, a spouse, or a party crasher? Despite the fun, Valerie couldn't shake off her tension. She occasionally scanned the room, hoping to quickly confront Randall and be done with it, but he never showed up. Valerie refrained from inquiring whether Randall had registered for the reunion, hesitant to give the impression that she wanted to see him. Saturday's schedule featured various outdoor activities at the local country club, with people scattered, enjoying tennis, swimming, golf, and tanning, all accompanied by drinks. When she wasn't engrossed in reminiscing with high school friends, Valerie was scanning the area for any sign of Randall's presence. Despite straining her neck to look around, he hadn't made an appearance yet, allowing her to partially enjoy the festivities. Saturday evening marked the main event, a dinner and dance in the hotel ballroom. In her room, Valerie assessed her appearance in the mirror, aiming for a look that balanced between conservative and alluring. Described as attractive, with a face and body that garnered attention, she remained close to her high school weight accentuating her figure with a bra that enhanced her bust. Her dress-ensured eyes would linger, and her short, wavy dark hair received approval. Valerie had always attracted attention, and tonight likely wouldn't be an exception, as long as it stayed at looks and not touches. Beverly and 3 friends occupied a table with another couple during dinner, one of whom was a classmate but not part of their usual circle. They didn't engage much with them during the meal. Afterward, as a band played nostalgic tunes, the atmosphere transitioned to mingling, with few on the dance floor yet. Drinking and conversations took center stage. After a couple of drinks, an old male friend asked Valerie to dance. Since his wife didn't fancy dancing, Valerie accepted with a blessing. Mid-dance, Randall Briggs made his grand entrance. Valerie had forgotten how striking he was. The familiar strand of hair falling across his forehead remained mesmerizing, rumored to induce ecstasy with the mere movement of his hair. He seemed in fantastic shape, possibly even more athletic than in high school when he swum competitively. At swim meets, hordes of girls swooned over Randall's physique, especially when he sported those snug swim trunks. His emergence from the water was met with audible sighs, thanks to the outline of his anatomy. Despite her disdain, Valerie's heart skipped a beat at the sight of him. Randall leisurely greeted people, exuding confidence without the arrogant air of their high school days. He seemed self-assured yet remarkably polite. Back at the table, Beverly commented, "Goodness, Randall is even more appealing now. I wonder how quickly he'll charm a woman tonight, and why do I find myself wanting to be one of those he chooses?" Valerie responded, "Beverly, you're married. What's gotten into you?" Beverly shrugged it off, saying, "Nothing that a good fling wouldn't fix. I adore Hank, but I'm craving a one-night revival. Heck, I'm getting excited just thinking about Randall. Come on, don't tell me you're not feeling it too. After all, you got a taste of him once before." Valerie looked at Beverly in disbelief, repulsed yet reluctantly acknowledging a hint of arousal. "Beverly, I had my fill of him when I was foolishly young. I have the most wonderful husband now, and I won't jeopardize that for a self-absorbed Casanova." "Valerie, come on. You know your status skyrocketed after he boasted about you too. Many girls wish they had the chance. Some are here tonight still hoping he'll pick them. Well, count me out. I have a speech prepared for Mr. Lothario that'll make my stance crystal clear." As the night wore on, Randall continued mingling, mostly with the women. Sometimes laughter ensued. At times women walked away clearly disgusted, while some indicated their availability. Randall remained composed as he navigated the room. Then their eyes met. Valerie muttered to herself, "Darn it. He caught me looking at him. Oh no, not that smile. That's the smile that lured me into letting him cross boundaries. Buck up. Phil, he's heading over. Barry, may I have the honor of this dance?" He noticed her hesitation. "I promise to behave." "Please." Reluctantly, she allowed him to lead her to the dance floor for a slow dance. Valerie felt confident, perhaps a bit too confident, that her defenses were up and her offense was prepared. Surprisingly, he kept a respectful distance, not attempting to draw her closer or place his hand any lower down her back. His continuous smile disarmed her, and soon she found herself smiling back. "You're so beautiful when you smile," he said, his sincerity catching her off guard. Expecting a typical line, she frowned. He noticed. "I guess I should get right to it. Val, you're the main reason I'm here tonight. I want to apologize for how I treated you in high school. There's no excuse for my awful behavior. I have to make immense changes just to crawl out from being the scum of the earth. You gave me the greatest gift, and I'd betray that by boasting. It's hard to face what a despicable person I've been. I'm hoping for your forgiveness, but I'd settle for you not hating me anymore." Val was stunned, her prepared speech vanishing from her mind. He continued, "I can't take credit for becoming a better person. It took a remarkable woman to set me straight. Once I met her, I wanted to do right by her. Compliments were genuine, not a means to an end. I felt lucky just to have her tolerate me. Though she never said a word against me, she made me confront my actions. She made me cry over my past misdeeds. Thanks to her and AA, I had been sober for 17 months and 3 days. When I left rehab, I was broken. She rebuilt me. I slowly became a new man with a new purpose. I took over my life. Randall. She sounds incredible. Where is she tonight? Melody is back home. We debated whether it was best for her to come. When we discussed my need to apologize to you and others, she thought it might be best for her to stay. It would hurt her to see if some women were still angry with me. Also, I wasn't sure if I'd have the courage if she was watching. It crushed me to disappoint her. You might have noticed my attempts to apologize tonight. Some went well, others didn't. I don't blame those holding grudges. I'm just disappointed I couldn't do more to ease their hatred. Tears welled up in Randall's eyes. He waited before coming to Val. He'd always felt she was the one he owed the most to apologize. Simon's a lucky man. If I could have designed the perfect woman physically and emotionally, she'd look like you. Now I found someone else. Melody's not like you in many ways, but she's perfect in others. I won't mess this up. His embrace seemed more about seeking solace than romance. As the dance ended, he wished Val well and kissed her cheek briefly before moving on to talk to others. Returning to the table, Beverly chimed in. You really gave him a piece of your mind. I was ready to, but he spent the time apologizing for how he treated me. Seems like he has a wife who's turned his life around. Val, I heard his wife is stunning but often in a wheelchair due to misg. Still works part-time and does charity work when she can. Rumor has it she can't field anymore if they have sex. Irony, huh? The school's biggest player stuck with a woman who can't feel a thing. Beverly, sometimes you disgust me. Remind me why we're friends. Because we know too many secrets about each other. They shared a laugh. As the evening progressed and the drinks took their effect, spurred on by Randall's apology, Val felt compelled to express her gratitude. When the next slow song played, she asked him to dance. He agreed, holding him closer. She spoke over the music. I wanted you to know I appreciate your apology. I'm glad you've turned things around. I always thought you had the potential for good. Give my best to your wife. She sounds amazing. It must be tough for you. Randall's expression twisted into fury in an instant. I know what you're thinking. She's amazing for someone disabled. Spare me your sanctimonious pity, Valerie. My wife does incredible things for anyone, regardless of their abilities. It's an honor for me to be with her. She doesn't want your pity, and neither do I, by extension. Valerie, I thought you were better than this. Suddenly, I don't feel like dancing with you anymore. With that, Randall stormed toward the exit. Grabbing her purse, Val hurried after him. Outside, he sat on a concrete bench, tears streaming down his face. Randall, I'm sorry. I didn't mean any disrespect. I meant that I'm glad you two have each other. Please forgive me. Val sat beside him, wrapping her arm around his shoulders. He rested his head on her shoulder, seeking solace. After a few moments, he composed himself. Vol, I'm sorry I snapped. It gets to me sometimes. I had so much to give, but I used it for the wrong reasons for so long. I don't deserve her. You know, she even encouraged me to find someone tonight, and she can't, you know. Who does something so selfless? I really don't deserve her. I'm sorry. I need to get back to my room and drown my sorrows. Feeling sorry for him, Val offered her support. He headed for the bar, but she stopped him. You don't need alcohol. How about coffee? I don't want people seeing me like this. Can we go somewhere private? We both have coffee in our rooms. Val immediately hesitated about going to his room. Let's go to mine. I know it's risky, but I thought I could manage the situation better there, just in case. In her room, he sat down as Val prepared the coffee. Handing him a cup, she asked, Do you have a photo of your wife in your wallet? He showed her a picture of a beautiful woman in a wheelchair. Randall broke down again, rushing to Val's bathroom. After he composed himself, he rejoined her, looking lost and vulnerable. Val couldn't walk away but hugged him. Vol, do you still hate me? No, Randall. I don't hate you, and I forgive you. Really? Can you do me a favor then? What do you need? Dance with me once more, like you care for me. I miss dancing with the person I care about the most. He tuned the radio to an oldies station, and they danced through more than one song, pressed against each other. His cologne hovered around her, a scent that was rumored to be the aerosol version of a date drug in high school. Val felt her emotional barriers being lowered. His face inched closer to hers, his warm breath grazing her neck. Her knees didn't buckle, but they certainly wobbled. Then, His lips started exploring her earlobes, a reminder of his familiarity with her erogenous zones. It felt incredibly pleasurable, reminiscent of that long-ago night. Val could feel herself responding physically. When his lips met hers, their tongues followed suit. His hands explored her body, and she barely noticed her dress edging down until he began kissing the top of her breasts. As he reached to undo her bra, and she prepared to reciprocate, a jolt of realization hit her. Oh my God, not again. She pushed him away, and the charming smile was replaced by the smirk she despised. Come on, Val. You know you want this. I won't tell Simon this time. How many people get the chance for a second round of the best sex in their life? Val was furious at him and herself. Get out. He ignored her demand, reaching for her. Val screamed. Abuse. Abuse. Rushing to her purse, she grabbed her pink pepper spray and aimed it at his face. Fine. I'm leaving. Disgust etched on his face, he made his way to the door. Just before leaving, Randall tossed a final egotistical comment. When you change your mind, give me a call. Val noted the arrogance in his use of when, not if. Get out. As soon as he was gone, Val collapsed onto the bed, tears streaming down her face. How could I almost fall for this trick again? What's wrong with me? After a cathartic cry, a new perspective began to form. I almost gave in, but I didn't. I stood by my husband and my marriage. A sense of pride seeped in. She wanted to call Simon and tell him she passed the test of loyalty, but it was too late. A call now might worry him. She decided to share her feelings when she returned home tomorrow. Simon felt oddly upbeat, despite being at work on an unusual Sunday morning, especially for the senior loan officer at First National Bank. The big commercial loan deal was nearly wrapped up. They just needed the amended contract signed by all parties so the out-of-town group could catch their flight home. Taking a moment, he decided to check his emails, having neglected to do so for the past couple of days. An unexpected email caught his eye. Of all people, it was from Randall Briggs. The subject line read, I told you so. Despite the queasiness bubbling within him, he couldn't resist opening it. Inside it read, I told you so. Randall continued. She was eager for my first dance. Don't blame her too much. It's hard to turn down the master. In case you think I'm bluffing, see the attachments I took from her hotel room. Simon opened the 4 clickable picture attachments and nearly lost his breakfast. The first one was a nude picture of his wife. The others were similarly explicit. The email had a postscript. In case you decide to erase these photos, you can view them and others at, with a link to a website. Simon wrote down the address and stashed it in his wallet. He would check it at home later. For now, he had to remain professional while signing. He skipped the post-signing celebration and headed home. Tears held back until then flowed freely. He was angrier than he'd ever been. Her betrayal and reneging on her word stunned him as much as, or perhaps more than, her actually being with Randall. Her excuse of being able to handle him was a sham. That level of betrayal shattered the marriage. No question. Simon reached home, poured himself a stiff drink, and later retreated to a motel. There, he began outlining the steps to end the marriage come Monday. Towards late Sunday afternoon, Valerie practically sprinted up the steps to her house, dragging her suitcase behind her. She envisioned the scene where she'd leap into her husband's arms, regaling him with the tale of her triumph. Simon, she called out eagerly, but there was no response. He must still be engrossed in that loan deal. Well, the celebration would have to wait. As she made her way through the dining room with her suitcase, heading toward the stairs in the bedrooms, something caught her eye in the kitchen. Valerie stumbled upon a shocking image in her kitchen, a picture of herself, naked, with Simon's wedding ring placed on it. Everything went black. When she came to, she stared at the photo, realizing it was taken in the hotel room she had just left. The image was from the previous night, right after she had kicked Randall out. She recognized the discarded dress on the bed, but she knew she never undressed while he was there. The memory of the female sports reporter stalked and photographed through a peephole crossed her mind. Fueled by rage, Valerie vowed to confront Randall. But first, she needed to explain the situation to Simon. Attempts to contact her husband proved futile, as his cell phone was out of service. Valerie reached out to everyone she could think of, including his parents, but no one had seen or heard from Simon. Even checking nearby hotels yielded no results. Desperate, she contacted his workplace and learned that Simon had taken a few days off after sealing a big deal over the weekend. His supervisor assumed they had gone on a celebratory vacation. Valerie feared the worst. Days passed without any word from Simon, and she felt an increasing sense of desperation. Reluctantly, she turned to her friend Beverly for support. When she called, Beverly, who seemed intoxicated, responded with surprising hostility. "You want my help? You must be kidding," she said, leaving Valerie stunned and hurt. In the podcast, the narrator continued to unfold the story. Valerie, desperate for answers, turned to her friend Beverly. However, Beverly's response was shocking and filled with hostility. She accused Valerie of being a foolish idiot, claiming that she owed her for the best night she ever had. Confused, Valerie asked what she was talking about. Beverly revealed that she and Randall had orchestrated the entire charade. The fake story about Randall seeking forgiveness, having a disciplined wife, and being unable to have sex. Beverly's role was to finally spend a night with Randall, and although he didn't get to Valerie, he was so furious that he kept Beverly up all night. She admitted that Hank, her husband, discovered her betrayal and left her. Despite the consequences, Beverly believed it was worth it, and asked Valerie to leave her alone to celebrate. Valerie, devastated by this betrayal from a supposed friend, couldn't believe she had any tears left. She had always considered Beverly a friend, and was blindsided by the envy that fueled her actions. Reflecting on the twisted people in her life, Valerie realized she seemed to know too many of them. Almost 2 weeks had passed without any word from Simon, and Valerie hadn't received divorce papers, providing a glimmer of hope. Then, an unknown caller interrupted her thoughts. And to her surprise, it was Simon calling. Overwhelmed with relief, she eagerly greeted him, ready to explain everything. However, Simon's response was cold and stern, urging her to spare him the typical cheater's false explanations. In the aftermath of Simon's call, Valerie desperately tried to explain herself, but Simon interrupted her with cold determination. He revealed that he had already consulted a divorce attorney, who had started drafting the necessary paperwork. Valerie pleaded with him, asking him not to proceed with the divorce, and promising that she could fix the situation. However, Simon dismissed her pleas, challenging her to undo the photos and sever ties with Randall. He insisted that she fix the mess, and then call him, ignoring her protest that she didn't have his new number. With the divorce looming, Valerie's troubles intensified as Simon sent her a link to a website displaying explicit images of her undressing, some completely nude. The images had already garnered over 1,000 views, making her an unexpected online sensation. Valerie recalled a similar case involving a female sports reporter, and the challenges she faced in removing her pictures from such sites. The realization hit her that once these images hit the internet, they might never disappear. Some advice suggested selling nude photos while the interest was high, with magazines offering substantial sums for spreads. Valerie's initial self-pity transformed into rage and a desire for vengeance. Over the next month, she embarked on a relentless struggle to track down the webmaster responsible for the site. Threatening legal action didn't faze him, as he dismissed her protests, stating that she could sue all she wanted. Valerie, determined to fight back, faced a daunting battle to reclaim control over her own narrative and salvage any remnants of her life. In a desperate attempt to regain control, Valerie resorted to negotiating with the webmaster responsible for the explicit images. She tried to leverage the situation by proposing a trade of sex pictures for information about the origin of the photos. The webmaster, confident in his legal team's prowess, initially dismissed her proposal. However, Valerie persisted, suggesting that actual sex scenes would attract even more attention. The webmaster, intrigued by the prospect of recording explicit content, reluctantly agreed, provided he could choose the actor. Valerie, seizing the opportunity, insisted on selecting the actor herself, but the webmaster asserted his authority as the producer. Undeterred, Valerie hinted at the possibility of setting up her own website, prompting a frustrated sigh from the webmaster. Eventually, he relented, providing her with the name and address of the person who sent the pictures, Randall Briggs. Along with this crucial information, he included a forged consent form with Valerie's signature and an affidavit, all delivered after Valerie sent a letter promising the filming of explicit content. Originally, Valerie had envisioned Simon as the actor, using the money to start a family. Her rationale was that since her nude images were already circulating, Simon could wear a mask to conceal his identity during the filming. The complex web of revenge and deceit continued to unfold as Valerie navigated through the consequences of her actions. In a bid to salvage her reputation and secure a fresh start, Valerie pursued legal counsel and composed a letter to Randall. In the letter, she outlined the potential lawsuit against him for distributing explicit images and presented a proposition. She offered to withhold legal action if Randall agreed to make a video confession to Simon, revealing the truth about the events at the dance and in the hotel room. The condition was that Valerie wouldn't use the confession against him. A week later, the requested video arrived, but during that time, the dynamics had shifted. Simon, instead of engaging in discussions about their marriage, portrayed himself as the victim of infidelity, garnering sympathy from friends and acquaintances. Some who had initially believed Valerie's side now sided with Simon, and a few women tried to console him. Simon's challenge to disprove the assumed affair had transformed into a public accusation, and Valerie was left humiliated. Furious and abandoning her previous moral constraints, Valerie devised a new plan. She sent an email to every person in her network, including relatives, friends, and neighbors. The email delivered a clear message: Simon's challenge to disprove the connection between the nude photos and an alleged affair had been accepted. Valerie had evidence now, and she demanded a meeting in a conference room with divorce attorneys present. If Simon refused, she threatened to proceed with divorce proceedings and sue him for slander. That reporters eagerly sought to cover the anticipated confrontation in the conference room. Eventually, under pressure from friends, Simon reluctantly agreed to the meeting. Lawyers on both sides arranged the details, with Valerie seething and Simon appearing sheepish as the proceedings commenced. The central question became not whether Valerie could have had sex, but whether she did. In the decisive moment, Valerie turned her laptop around, playing the video confession from Randall. She emphasized having an expert's opinion, confirming that the explicit pictures originated from a peephole. Simon and his lawyer huddled to confer before Simon responded with skepticism. You could have coerced him into making that video, offered more sex for lies. There's no proof, Randall. And I had sex. It didn't happen. Let's go to court, Simon declared defiantly. Valerie countered, presenting her evidence. I have proof the pictures came from outside my room. Simon assumes I slept with Randall, but I will testify and take lie detector tests. I have witnesses for Simon's accusations against me. Interrupting, she asserted her position. Val, it seems I owe you an apology, but you must understand why I thought. No. I don't understand why you concluded I had sex with Randall. Maybe suspect, but not jump to conclusions without letting me explain. Wouldn't that be the logical step if you trusted me? That's what I suspect a loving, trusting husband would do. What I've concluded is that my husband didn't truly love, trust, or respect me. The situation escalated further as Valerie decisively removed Randall Cummings from the proceedings. The settlement conditions were handed to Randall and his lawyer, with the understanding that they could contact her when ready to sign. The terms were clear. To drop the slander lawsuit, Simon would leave with only his initial assets. The house would be sold, and its modest equity split. No counseling, no alimony, no home support. It was a straightforward proposition, reflecting Simon's inability to afford losing the lawsuit and half of his assets. Yet, Valerie's revenge was far from over. At the final signing meeting, Simon requested to speak before signing. His apology echoed with regret, admitting his fear that Randall would seduce Valerie. The incriminating pictures had fueled Simon's fears, pushing him towards the divorce path. Although he had hoped for counseling to salvage their marriage, his lawyer shot down the idea, advocating for a legal battle. Faced with the prospect of losing everything, Simon confessed his desire not to lose Valerie, even if they went through with the divorce. Desperate to make amends, Simon asked if there was any way to set things right, to stay together. Valerie contemplated for a moment before presenting an unconventional proposition. Well, there is something. After we're divorced, would you join me in Las Vegas? Simon, though finding the idea a bit drastic, agreed, sensing a chance for a fresh start. 2 weeks post-divorce, the duo landed in Las Vegas. Valerie maintained a firm stance against Simon's attempts at closeness, assuring him that there would be time for that later. Their room featured double beds, leaving Simon puzzled but compliant. Dinner mirrored their first date, light and enjoyable. Upon returning to their room, Valerie halted Simon's advances, stating, "I don't rush things on a first date." Despite his vexation, Simon retreated to his own bed. The next day, Valerie promised Simon an unforgettable experience as she guided him to an exclusive Las Vegas locale, an adult film studio. Puzzled, Simon asked about the plan. Valerie simply replied, "You'll see." Inside, two burly men emerged, securing Simon to a chair and silencing him with a gag. After a while, Valerie emerged from behind the screen, completely undressed. "Hello, Simon. I hope you enjoyed this conversation," she greeted, leaving the stunned ex-husband to contemplate the unexpected turn of events. Soon, a diverse group of men, varying in shapes and colors, arrived at the adult film studio. 3 other women were present, and Hall, the studio organizer, expressed admiration for Valerie's choices. Considering the entire series, she decided on engaging with a white man, a black man, and a woman. The explicit encounters unfolded over 2 hours, interspersed with breaks for water, cleaning, and mouthwash. All the while, Simon sat there, tears streaming down his face, a spectator to Valerie's actions. Approaching Simon, Valerie nonchalantly remarked, "Don't worry, honey. It's your turn now." Capitalizing on the label of a slut that had been unjustly thrust upon her, Valerie orchestrated Simon's participation. He received sedatives to calm him and enhance his arousal. Over the next few hours, 2 women and a man took turns coaxing multiple climaxes from him. As Simon regained his senses, Hall issued a warning about the potential repercussions. Any attempt by Simon to disclose the incident would result in the circulation of videos, mirroring the shame Valerie felt when her intimate photos were disseminated without consent. Valerie accepted a large check from Hall, who pleaded with her to continue making films. She declined, asserting, "No, I'm a retired adult film star now. This money will get me a new start when no one knows me." "Thanks anyway, Hall." Hall assured her that Simon would be safely returned home. Days later, a news report detailed an assault on Randall Briggs, leaving him severely injured and unlikely to recover normal urinary functions. Valerie reflected on the irreversible damage to Randall's trust and the consequences of her actions.